Station, where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Desde Brooklyn hasta el sol del Medio Oriente, Jose Flores con fuego en la mente. Raised in the Bronx where dreams don't sleep, donde el hambre te enseña a resistir. Section 8 life, no handouts, no cheat. He built his power from the pain on the street.
Cada golpe, cada lágrima caída fue el fuego que encendió su vida. Ahora camina con propósito y voz. Jose Flores, hear the noise. De la calle al combate, turned his trials into faith. Con disciplina y con fe, now he rises every day. From the block to the world sin temor.
You ever need a haircut?
So
that these kids can learn how to stay independent, or want to, not just learn, but want to. But I think that there's a major shift.
Iraq to Korea, he led from the front. Now he lifts others, never just stunts. Hoy es mentor, líder, amigo.
Welcome to the Motivated Mindset. How are you doing? I'm your host, Jose Flores, proud Latino, born in New York City, raised out in the Bronx and Brooklyn, all of that, mi gente, that New York flavor, that hustle, that grit. It shaped me, built me, and still drives everything I do. I'm a combat veteran. I served for 30 years in the United States Army. Hoorah! And before we get rolling, I want to send out a salute to all my veterans and first responders, listening out there, because you guys matter. Mucho respeto. You already know. It's right here in the heart. Now, in this chapter of my life, I wear mucho hats other than this cool one you see. You like that, huh? How you doing? What's up? What's going on? Hey, look, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a certified personal trainer, a certified mediator, and yes, even an end-of-life death doula. But here's the truth behind all those titles, like we all have, right? In the end, I do what I do because I'm called to serve, right? That's one thing the Army taught me, selfless service, because I know what struggle feels like, right? I also know that because I know what it means to fight for a purpose and to help others find their purpose every day, every single day. My mission is simply to inspire, right? To uplift, like we all do, and to challenge, right? We all need to be challenged, because we need to be reminded that no matter where you start in life, that doesn't define your life, as we move forward, because with heart, discipline, faith, and relentless drive, and that's one of the reasons I do this podcast. The Motivated Mindset is where we talk about resilience. We talk about culture, optimism, discipline, and the courage it takes to keep pushing, even when life swings you hard, bam, it tries to keep you down. We keep it real here, NYC real, there's no sugarcoating, straight talk, Bronx humor. What's up? How you doing? You've been working out, all right? You're going to laugh. You're going to reflect. You're going to get fired up. You may even shed a tear, mi gente. But one thing I promise you, you'll leave here stronger than when you press that play button, when you click that thing, because this isn't just about motivation, como dicen, right? This is about transformation, expanding your mind, being better than yesterday. So let's talk about today's guest. How you doing? Oh, my God, I'm so excited. All right, everyone. It's hard for me. I get excited anyways. I don't know. It's the New York in me. But joining us today is Dr. Michelle Pacheco-Turner, the founder of Reset and Rise Consulting. I almost said something else. Someone who brings a powerful blend of military leadership, psychology, and innovation to the table. As a U.S. Army veteran, Dr. Turner understands resilience, transition, and purpose at a deep level. A live level. She pairs that experience with a PhD in organizational psychology, helping leaders and organizations navigate that complexity with clarity, using evidence-based science, mindfulness, even cutting-edge tools, AI tools. Her mission is simple but impactful: to help people reset their path and rise with purpose. Aligning strategy with soul and leading with intention. This is going to be a powerful conversation about leadership growth and what it really means to rise. So please help me welcome Dr. Michelle Pacheco-Turner. But wait, before we get into that, one last thing. You knew I was going to do that, and you probably didn't. I want to share a quick update. The Motivated Mindset is now on Spotify, and we're working on some other things that are becoming. So you can also have other ways to listen. other than the video, right? I'm grateful that you're here, you know, because it's you guys that make this happen. Clearly, this podcast is a team effort, and I don't do this alone. I want to give a heartfelt gracias, thank you to Yvel Delgado, whose support, dedication, and behind the scenes work have helped me make this podcast what it is today. I truly appreciate you. Now, if you want to vibe with that, you know, you go with it because it's the truth. If this conversation inspires you, if you appreciate what you see, hey, look, it's you guys that make it happen. My audience, hey, support. That's how I bring guests, you know. Do the like, hit the subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, and share with someone who may need that motivation. Yay, you need to get up, make your bed, make it happen, Captain, because your support helps me keep bringing powerful guests, meaningful conversations like we're about to have, powerful driven content straight to you. All right, family, let's get into it. Let's see what we got up in here. Hoorah, let's take this down, and we're gonna make this happen, Captain.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Oh my God, welcome, Michelle. Oh my God. Hey.
I was dancing. I was ready. I was like, wait a minute.
Like you know why? I wanted to say rise and shine.
I know you did, but it is, you know, here it is, rise and shine.
Here we are, rise and shine. Right? Well, I want to say thank you, first of all, for being here. It means a lot to me, you being here. It's stupendous. And people want to know, before we get into your stupendous endeavors, your passion, who is Michelle? Who is she?
Man, let me see. I wear many hats, even though I don't have them on, right?
Right.
But I mean, you said it all, really, a little bit of everything, right? I'm an organizational psychologist. I received my PhD from Capella University. Shout out in Minnesota. There's a lot going on over there. And, you know, again, I'm a U.S. veteran, right? I'm a mother. That's first and foremost. I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I am still a civil servant as well. And, you know, and again, I'm a founder of Reset and Rise, but all of that is me, kinda, right? With everything I do, whether leadership development, psychological safety, coaching, or resilient work, comes from just the one place. So who I am really is learning how to build from the ground up when my own identity after lifing situations has kept changing for me every single time. So
before you were all the hats, where are you from? How were you raised? That's
you know what I was raised by an amazing woman, my heavenly mother, and she is from Dominican Republic as well. She's a lawyer. She was that servitude and that grit that, like we call it in the military as well, came from her, and the serviceless that she also had. She raised us in New York. I was from Dominican Republic, and we went just like everybody else. We go up to New York because I think that's, for some reason, you know, the ground is shiny, right? I think there's diamonds in the sky and in the ground. No, we migrated when I was about 7 years old to New York in the Bronx. We have family there already. And I went to the Bronx, and then I went to the Bronx between Queens. And then one cold winter around, I was in middle of eighth grade. One of my aunts actually moved to Hollywood, Florida. And she went to visit, my mother did, and came back and said, hey, I bought a house. And we're moving in 2 weeks. The latter part of my life before I joined the military, I actually lived in Hollywood, Florida, County Line Road, right in between Miami and Hollywood and Broward County. So it's kind of like Miami-Dade and Broward. So we did a lot of things in Miami and in the South Florida, or SoFlo, like we like to call it. But yeah, that's who I am. But she's again, she was a lawyer. She did immigration law. She married people, still to this day, people still talk to us, my sister and my brother and I, about all the great things. Just recently, she was Episcopalian. And Episcopalian Church from South Florida, actually, the Archdiocese actually honored her for Hispanic Heritage Month because of her great, amazing work. So I have un gran legado, a great legacy, to pretty much walk by, right? It's the long shoes that she left for me to fill, but I'm filling my own in the process alongside her. So
that is stupendous. You're right when you said about New York. Everybody moves there, you know. It's like that's the place, you know. And so with that being said, what was the trigger? What made you join the U.S. Army? How did that come about?
You know, to be honest, all the men in my family are military. All of them. They were all military. All my grandfather, my father was in the military. My uncles, cousins, they're all of them. I am the first female to join, and I joined the Army. They were all Air Force, so that was a thing. But I really got into it when I was in Florida, and Miramar High School is my alma mater, and they actually had a JROTC program. And I got involved from 8th grade. The counselor, it was funny because the counselor was like, oh, they wear uniforms and stuff. And I was like, so I'm thinking band, right? Like I'm thinking like something completely different. She's like, oh, they do drills. So I'm thinking like the flag.
Right.
And it wasn't that. So when I got into it, I learned, and I was there the whole time being part of JROTC, again, junior. It was an amazing experience because that's what led to my military experience. And I came into the Army, talk about grit, right? I already had rank. So 17 years old in the Army, no business being in the Army at 17, but here I was. My poor mom had to sign me away, and that was just so devastating for her. And as a mom of a 19-year-old that is getting ready to go and do the same thing, I feel her pain now. I talk to her and I say, I get it now, but I did not get it before.
Right.
Why she wouldn't just let me go. But she had to sign me away, as she would say. And then my father, he was in the Dominican Republic at the time, and who was it? G.I. Jane had just come out. They both died.
Right.
My hair was long, and I did chop it all the way off, but they thought I was getting ready to just be G.I. Jane the whole time. And I feel like some way because of that, because I did a lot of stuff in JROTC, and we did a lot of running, and I was very much a G.I. Jane type.
Right.
Some of my fellow sisters in the ROTC will know, and my brothers will know that I did it all. I couldn't sit down somewhere. I was very fit, and it was very important. So we did a lot of competitions that we won, right? Like we didn't lose. Right. So they did have a reason to think that I was going to be G.I. Jane. So they did not want to sign me away. But I convinced them, persuaded them that, I can do hard things. And then they raised me, in a very complex situation as it is for a time like that at that time, right? Dating myself back then. But, I was excited just to be part of something greater and to give back to this amazing country that had, housed us from, again, I don't know anything else, right? I can go back to Dominican Republic and I feel like a visitor. I always say, soy de aquí y de allá, because sometimes I'm from there and from here, but sometimes being there, they don't make me feel like I am from there. Right? They know very well that I wasn't raised down there in the Dominican Republic, but they are never, they never push it away either, right? They always open hands and open arms when I go back down there and see family and friends and everybody. And then again, my father still lives down there, so it's always a great time to go visit.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think I shared my last assignment on active duty was teaching ROTC. And it's one of the best things I didn't teaching that relationship between the officer and the non-commissioned officer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I'm still in touch with their colonels now. Say, hey, Sergeant Major, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So I get it's a great avenue. I'm glad that you did it.
No, I would have kept going. But again, transitions, right? And pivoting.
Yeah, that's it. Pivot. So how did your military experience shape the way you approach leadership and resilience?
You know what? To be honest, I think that when you coming into the military at the time, I just wanted to go into the military, right? I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I just really want to be part of the Army. I wanted to be Air Force. I'm not going to lie, but the Air Force recruiter did not show up on time. or ever for our appointment. And then the Army recruiters, because it was an Army ROTC program, were right next door. And they're like, oh, it's so hot. Because again, we were in Florida. And then my friend, she's still in, they were like, hey, come here, wait for him here. We both came out, signed in, right? So we already knew that we were going to go into the Army. We were just kind of playing around, right? So we knew the struggle was real. But to be honest, I feel like I've spent my entire life in high stakes environments, right? You take me from Dominican Republic at 7 years old. I migrated to New York, where I thought, the buildings, right? Like I've never seen buildings that big that sway in the wind. And I'm, again, they're not there anymore. But being an immigrant to this country was a high stakes environment, right? And the language, I am very thankful that my mom and my dad both gave me a leg up that a lot of immigrant children don't have. And I was actually learning English before I came into this country. It was not the way it is now, but it was enough for me to understand what was being said, right? Enough for me to be able to defend myself in the language. So that was a high stakes environment as it was. Then coming from, my mom visiting my aunt in Florida, coming back, hey, we're moving in the middle of 8th grade. We're moving to where? Where's Hollywood? I'm thinking it's California. She's Florida. Right. You'll love it there. It's hot. I'm like, okay, great, right? Because it's winter at this point. When she came back, it was like October, November, right, in New York. So she's like, oh, we're moving. So by December, we were gone. Break, we were gone to Florida, and we started our life down there, right? Again, high stakes, because now you have to, what do you have to do? Pivot. And you get the opportunity, to be honest, to reinvent yourself in ways that you don't think that you're reinventing yourself, where I was the very shy in nature. You wouldn't tell it now. And a lot of people say that I'm an extrovert. I'm not. I call it introvert extrovert. I am an introvert. I am an extrovert when I need to be. I love the energy from people, but I also, all that energy, I need to, kind of sometimes just be at home in my little hole. But one of the things that, again, high stakes environment, right? So you have to pivot, reinventing myself, somebody coming in from New York. And one of the things I had in New York was a translator. We had a translator in our classes because, we were the Spanish international kids and we needed some help and assistance. And we had ESOL. There was no ESOL in Florida. At the time when I went, they were like, oh, no, she has to go down a grade. And she has to start, instead of 8th grade, we have to take her down to 6th or 7th because they're English. And my mom looked at me and she said, si tú no hablas inglés ahora mismo, we're going to have a problem. And then for everybody's like, if you don't speak English right now, we're going to have a problem. Because I was like, mami, yo no sé. Yo no sabo what we talk. No, I'm not. Where is my translator? And my mom just had, that one look like, if you don't,
that's right,
stop it right now. It wasn't like, how you doing? It was like, si tú, don't stop.
How you doing?
So high stakes, right? So I started speaking English there to the superintendent of the school and the school system and the principal. And I said, no, I perform very well. I do this, and that. And everybody's like, what? Who is this kid? That was the kid I was, right? And hiding behind my, what we call now, we talked about that before, kind of that imposter syndrome. But I just hid it. I didn't know. I didn't have a word for it. I was like, I don't want to talk to these people. I was very shy in nature. But again, navigating through that landscape, right? Allowed me to incorporate with ROTC was where I learned leadership. We were like the sergeant majors. We were the company commanders. We did all these things. We started from the bottom, right? We did everything. We knew how to really capitalize on complex situations. And then really, can you imagine? I was 13 years old in 9th grade. And I am a freshman, and they make me a squad leader. And people in that class are sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And here's a 13-year-old having to tell a 17-year-old what to do. I was built for it. I was here. I'm a firstborn. I'm also a firstborn, daughter and granddaughter. So I'm the, very matriarchal situations going on as it is. So I I was built
That's
for telling people what to do in a very controlled environment, right?
Right.
You know, not bossy,
right.
but I'm assertive when it comes time to it. But those landscapes really built my military career. I'm grateful for my mother's discipline that helped me, you know, again, be able to navigate those complex situations. And then also ROTC that really helped me develop and realize, you know, we talk about grit, right? And structure. It really helped me capitalize that grit really isn't enough sometimes, right? It's really sheer determination that, I'm gonna get this done. And I went on, right? Because then from there, I never really wanted, and I've said this in very different forms, because they're like, oh my gosh, you have a PhD, and how was that? And did you always want it? No. I didn't think I did, right? I always wanted to be a doctor. I was always something, but I thought it was medicine because my father was a doctor, and that's what I thought I was going to go that route. Little did I know that there was other things, right? I knew that my mom had a doctorate in, you know, her Juris Doctorate in law, but I was like, I don't know how she got that. So I just want to go do the medicine thing. And then when a pivoting moment in the military, and I was hurt in transit in the training, and they were like, hey, by the way, now you got to retire because we can't send you overseas and do all the great things that you're meant to do. And I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do now? And my doctor looked at me and was like, you have that GI Bill. Why don't you go do that? Because you always researching and trying to tell me what not to do. So go do that. And I said,
amazing. Oh my God.
And then that's where it kind of went. So
we have a question. The question is, how did your mindset shift as you rebuilt your identity after leaving the military?
Man, well, I learned that, you know, sometimes through moments where the version of me that I knew was lost and no longer existed, I had to reinvent myself. And I'll be very cautious in saying that the reinventing myself is kind of like, oh yeah, it's like very quirky, like, oh yeah, you reinvent yourself, and oh, this happened in my military career. And I want to be very, very, very intentional. My military career is over. There is no pivoting. I contacted congressmen at the time I wasn't a citizen, and they were like, tough senators, tough. Realized that I needed to get the citizenship situation. I was just like, oh, I didn't know I did that. But I really want to be intentional about saying it was over. There was no one that can appeal it to rescind it, right? And when I say that, it was like, oh, I had to realize that that version of myself no longer existed. It was really feeling the emotions that person, that version of who I thought I was, and the hats that we wear, right? No longer existed. It was no longer available. And I had to feel it. And when I say that is because so many of us don't feel the emotion of that. And that it gets translated. And again, you mentioned you're a death doula. And in this, you know, coaching, I've done grieving, right? People always talk about grieving people. You have to grieve the person that you once thought was it. And career, everything, because that person and that version of yourself no longer existed. And I didn't understand that at first, right? So then the doctor's telling me, oh, go to do this thing. And I'm like, I don't want to go do that thing. I want to go fight. And I kept fighting and appealing and all that stuff. And it wasn't until a mentor of mine said, you have to grieve the version of yourself that no longer exists. And I just sat there, because I didn't understand the grieving aspect of the version of myself. It's always like, oh, you grieve people that are no longer with you. But then some people don't understand that it's a lens of you also have to grieve the version of yourself. And that's what we have been doing and reinventing yourself. And you have to feel it. You can't just suppress the emotion.
Right.
Suppressing the emotion then also leads to you blowing up like Mount Vesuvius. I know that all too well too. And the energy, right, gets expanded very negatively, right? It's not really like in a positive way. So when I had to sit with that and I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to school and do this education thing. I had to really reintroduce myself. I'm not trying to quote, but I did have to introduce myself to myself.
Yes.
Because I'm like, okay, who am I now?
Mm-hmm.
Because the person that I once was no longer available. So
Right.
how then do I grow? Again, not go, but grow from here with the mindset that nobody's coming to help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah. And that brings us, I think you asked, how did you discover the next version of yourself? I think you may have talked about it, hit that about a little bit.
Yeah. Again, that's when I said before, grit is not enough, right?
Yep.
It really isn't enough. It wasn't enough for me to do anything about it. I realized that I was in high stakes, but I really had to figure it out by trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not a gimmick.
Right.
Fail, right, is first attempt in learning. And when you fail forward, and we talk about that in positive psychology all the time,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't do it purposely, but you do it purposefully. Mm-hmm. I had to really lean in to this complex landscape that now is before me. And at that time, I didn't have children, right?
Right.
I was one of those that I did not want to have kids at the time because I was still in the military. So I didn't know how I could be both. So had I not, again, pivoted to that stage in my life, that new stage in my life, I wouldn't have even considered being a mom.
Right.
So I had to reintroduce myself to that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's deep. And somebody asked, what helped you reconnect with your purpose after the military transition? That was a question that was asked.
Yeah. So the reconnection piece is also asking yourself, who am I? And again, it's not a fun question. You cry ugly, right? Because again, you're grieving who you once thought you were. I thought I would, again, I have my friends, the same person that we pretty much went into the recruiting station together, she is still in the military. And I look at her and I'm like, man, that could be me. My other friend that we started after, she's a sergeant major. Like, I'm like, man, that could have been me, right? And in all those could have, would have, that no longer serves you in a positive aspect. You have to really sit with yourself and, go into your closet and go do your war cries and really ask yourself, who am I if I'm not, I didn't get a chance. I retired out as corporal when I was I pinned sergeant, but I had to go to the school. But guess what? I got retired out medically, so I couldn't go to the school. So I was no longer Sergeant Turner. I was corporal, and then corporal became specialist. And I'm like, wait a minute, I did all these things. So when I asked myself, who am I if I'm not Sergeant Turner, Pacheco at the time, but who am I? And you have to keep asking yourself and just putting pen to paper, because it's, who am I? I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm all these things. I'm a survivor. I'm in transition. I am a wife. And I had to put all these hats, but that's not who you are.
Right.
Who you are is really value-based, scientifically proven, purposefully. And then the purposeful work behaviors in my organizational dissertation that's what I found. I realized that the study specifically showed what is it that we do. It's not what we do. It's also who we are is based on values. My values centered on service and giving others, doing something bigger than myself. That's what led me to continue to pivot every single time.
And that's the kind of advice you would give someone who feels lost in the middle of transition, especially what's happened in the last year, right?
You know what? That's the thing. The biggest thing is to grieve it. You have to feel it. You cannot go on like, oh, you know what? Let's lace up our boots, strap it on, and push forward and move on, and all the gimmicks, right? That they told us, right? The grit, and it takes more than that.
Yes,
and sometimes it takes more than that. And I've said this, a couple of times. It's like, okay, some coaches, not all. I have great colleagues of coaches. They're always gainfully employed by the same person.
Yes.
And I've learned early on, even in my civil service career, that my whole point is to work myself out of a job every single time into utopia. And I've applied that even in my own practice, because we are the creators of our own destiny. We are the creator. And it's not to be hokey, and it's not to be religious. It's not to be even spiritual. Everybody believes in something. It doesn't matter what it is, in something, right?
Absolutely.
When you believe in yourself, first and foremost, to really, understand that there's a bridge between, the tactical responses of like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the core purpose within you is that you have to grieve who you thought you were. Because if you don't move past that or through that, you will never be able to understand that, hey, by the way, I can get a PhD. Hey, by the way, I can have my hobby turned into a business. Hey, by the way, I can connect. I do all these things. You will never be able to do that. Now, I'll say this. There are setbacks, and then they spring you forward. I went through all of those setbacks, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I didn't know that would ever happen to me and my siblings was losing our mom at such an early age. Now I know life cycle. The life cycle is she should be here still, right? Helping me raise these kids. But that wasn't my walk. Years later, when that happened to me, I also had to seek help.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it alone because I did all of the things. I got the PhD. She was so proud. She saw me walk every single thing that I did. The kids, she got them all. The marriage, I checked the boxes on everything that I was supposed to do. But when you lose a parent, you also lose that version of yourself that existed with them. It's different when you lose something that's yours, that you created, that you went to get. But when you lose a parent, you lose something that existed with them. That it's a different type of grief. So then I was no longer that daughter that had a place to stand alongside her.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. So it's very, very, very impactful ways to be able to look at those gaps.
Absolutely. When people hear, like, let's say organizational psychology, right? And think theory, but what does that look like? How does that show up in day-to-day leadership? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you asked that because a lot of people think about that. It's just positive psychology, right? Organizational psychology is a lot like you hear a lot more like industrial psychologists because they take a look. There's a lot more evidence-based when you go into kind of like manufacturing companies, like, from start to finish and how they go through one conveyor belt to another. It's the same thing in business. You talk to the CEO, if he doesn't have a purpose within himself, is value-based, is going to show up in how they lead, he or she leads, right? So it's positive. The psychological safety, we hear that a lot and it's coined already, but it's really positive psychology and it's evidence-based. When I did my study, what I took was the purposeful work behaviors of Latina female leaders, right? And what that means is I answered the so what question of we know that we know that we have like sometimes the BRF face. They tell us that all the time. They say that we're dura, we're hard, we're this, we're that, we lack empathy and all this stuff, even as Hispanic female leaders, right? And what I did was, instead of honing in on that, I said I looked and I interviewed CEOs and in the C Corps, what is working? Why are you so successful? Why are your employees loving to work here? Why is this, even at VP levels and things like that, and all across all industries, I was very, very grateful for the opportunity to interview so many women at that time. And I realized that we do have a lot more empathy. Women actually have, and again, gender norms, they do exist, but because we have so much more to prove sometimes, when I took the study a little further and then I just did female leaders, it's the same. The application is the same. What happens is that the structure of empathy, because we've had to, as women, do so much to have a seat at the table, sometimes we don't pull it out. We wait for someone to say, oh, you can sit here, but we don't. So when you talk about day-to-day, it's literally leaning in and pulling that seat, not only for yourself, but for others. And I've been very grateful for my tribe that I know they're listening in, that without them, I would not have been able to remember who I am even after that big loss.
Wow. So with that being, when leaders feel stuck or burnt out, what's the first reset I would say you recommend they do when leaders feel where they're at that point?
The thing is that leaders are tired because they're trying to be a version of who they once were.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes, so you said that you were a sergeant major. When you pivoted into the civilian sector, were you able to still do sergeant major stuff in the civilian sector? And be honest, right? Because
no,
we keep it real here. Like
I am keeping it honest. I was lost.
We keep it a band here.
Look, let me tell you, girl.
Day, right?
I was lost like last year's Easter eggs mentally, trying to navigate this new thing because I was in a protective bubble.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's the reset. That's where that reset comes in. It's not a gimmick. I trademarked it for a reason because it helps you remember that the first R is rebuild.
Yes.
The thing is, you have to take a look at the version of yourself that once were. You were a leader in your own right as a sergeant major, but you know that sergeant major tactical leadership application had to have a little bit more empathy sprinkled on there.
It sure did.
In the civil service. And I'm not saying I'm not civil service as far as like civilian, whether it's corporate America or the federal government. You have to sprinkle a little bit something else because at the end of the day, you're tired and you're burning out because you're spinning your wheels because you're doing the same thing you did that worked there. You have to figure out what works here. Yes.
No, you're absolutely correct. That was a challenge, and I had to go back to, taking a knee, taking a step back, and looking at my environment. Stop, look, and listen. Say, wait a minute, this is different here. But you're absolutely correct. That's how I do it. And one of the things that I want to get into is what made you come up with your company? Because what is out there for leaders and employees? What is your company about?
That's the whole thing. I help leaders do that rebuild, right? That reset. It's bridging the gap between who you should do, what your responsibilities are, what they used to be, to the core purpose of actually using evidence-based strategies. It's not just a hoax and it's not just a gimmick, right? Again, like I mentioned before, in the military, we have operational pauses. But guess what? I found that we don't have operational pauses for leaders, really. And I'm not talking about leaders just as CEOs and everything. It does start sometimes with them, but everybody's a leader in their own right. You can lead from what do we say? You can lead from the rear just like you can lead from the front because every single person counts within any company. And even again, veterans and transitions, you're talking about business leaders. We have coaching programs. We have leadership summits. I've done again, life coaching, executive coaching, grieving coaching. I've walked through that, working on that death doula certificate, but I do love, working with people to give them that terrain, right? Like that. And it's explaining to them that the terrain that you once held is not the same terrain that you hold now. At the end of the day, there is not that much out there. Like I said, I do have recurring clients. I'm not gonna say that I don't, but it's for different problems and different challenges. It's not for the same ones. The ones that we've already, again, we have established goals, right? We have a checklist that I'm working on putting on the website to give to the listeners after we get out of here. Is downloadable as a PDF, just to ask yourself the purposeful questions about who am I now and what is working. It's a reset so that you can be able to change your lens from what you're doing. Because sometimes, sometimes supervisors and management, we're there, right? But then employees don't feel safe enough to tell them, hey, it's you're the problem. So how do you manage
psychological safety? Yes.
Right. Is that, again, you talk about the psychological safety notion of it. And employees have to feel safe enough for them to say, hey, can we chat for a minute? Or you have to have somebody that's in your corner to, pull on your ear a little bit, like, hey, Jose and Michelle, we got to talk, because the way you just spoke, it just sounded like this, right? So sometimes you have to self-check so that you can pivot, right, and continue to grow. But the big picture overall is that we have to start with your purpose. What is it based on? Value-based, not like, oh, my purpose is that I want to create an environment that's free of whatever and people feel so comfortable talking to me. Okay, great. That sounds amazing. But how are you doing that? Right. And that's what all I do is help them help themselves to the answer. I don't ever opine what I think they should do, because I do want to do that, right? I'm like, no, you should do this. It's like, okay, here it is. But I do guide them through the path so that, again, based on evidence-based strategies that I found during my dissertation and onward and all my research and studies, that it does work as long as you apply it.
Yes. It makes me so like what's one mindset shift that can instantly or maybe improve, como se dice, leadership, in your opinion, as we move forward?
I couldn't rise without really having a tribe to check me. I don't have yes people around me, and I'm very thankful for that. My tribe are very trusted individuals that will tell me about myself in a way that I can receive it with care and love, because you can't be like, hey, stop it. Although I do get some of those too, depending on what I'm doing, right? But I sometimes I say, I have a friend, Rebecca, and she is just the sweetest, most just gentle creature in life. I feel like, she's like Snow White with the arms out, right? And then so we make a joke with her and then say, you know what would Rebecca do? And to kind of check us when we're on our not so great selves. But, I also have friends that are like, you're doing the most right now. And that New York comes out and like, hey, you're doing the most.
Right.
And when I'm like, wait, what do you mean I'm doing the most? I'm not doing enough right now. Right. And then they're like, no, listen, this is how I'm hearing it. Right. This is how it's sounding. And I'm like, oh man, I have to do that. The biggest thing that then you have to do as a leader, humble yourself and go apologize to people. You know what that takes?
Yes.
That's humility in action. You have to, not only is your tribe telling you that you just were beside yourself, but then you also, again, my friend, like, tu te pasa, it's a very Dominican term, tu te pasa, like you went there, right?
Yes.
And then I have to go humbly to my whomever I've wronged. I'm not above an apology, but you also have to humble yourself and apologize for whatever wrongdoing you've done. And then also be okay with that person or those people not accepting the apologies just yet.
Yeah. No,
So,
one thing you said, so what's one daily habit that leaders can use that to lead with intentions? What helps leaders? What's one daily habit that maybe they can do that helps them lead with intention?
What daily habit is that I try to do my values. Like what is my values? And again, it's the values based. You really have to sit with that. It's not just values like, oh, it's trust or it's family. No. I really had to sit with that and dissect it in a way that even if family wrongs me, I can grow from that. Even if friends wrong me, I can grow from that. Workers, tactical, whatever, I can grow from that. Service is what helps me continue whatever walk I'm in, because service was inherently implemented in me from my mom. So even without her here, I know I can lead alongside her in whatever avenue I'm with or I'm in. Even this, right? I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But sitting with my values every day, it's like, okay. And, to be honest, what do I want to leave people with today?
Yeah.
What do I want to leave with today? Like, I want to try to leave somebody with a smile. I want to try to leave somebody with something positive to remind them whose they are, not only who they are in this world, and just be kind. Right. So I try to do that. I try to sit with my values and then just really figure out who am I, and it is who am I today, especially when sometimes you do wake up extra critical of life, So that's when it really counts. It's not just when it's all great and awesome. It's when the grit isn't there,
So with that being said, how can people get a hold of you? And I think let's talk about this slide right here. Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, so you have it up. So that's the website. They're still again uploading and updating things. It's fairly new. Again, my hobby turned into full-time this last year. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And then right now it's word of mouth. I think everybody's so many people have come from word of mouth and then going through traffic in the website. But you can get in contact with me. You can book a call in 30-minute increments or more, depending on what it is that you need. And then we can go from there. Some of the services that we offer, and I think that you have that too. We do have professional coaching. The professional coaching comes in as an executive coaching. It comes as a business coaching. We have people that I have people that do IT, that do the consulting work for the IT services. I contract stuff like that out. So it depends on the needs of the business. We've done that a lot. The leadership development as well, trying to go into executive forums and, again, do leadership training and focus to try to do different various things on how management can grow. Again, not go, but grow so that they can also be themselves. And then the leadership development also does a lot with the employees too, right? In the psychological safety aspect. The veteran support services is amazing. I'm still working on a couple companies that actually offer transitional services. You know how they do the 3-day transitions from in the military. Now they call it like the yellow ribbon and things like that. I've talked to a few companies and then just in the veteran community as well to try to render group services as it relates to coaching, like group coaching, and then also transitional services for them as well. The AI-driven business strategies is helping entrepreneurs and people in general how to use this stuff in a way that is ethical, and it'll optimize, again, everything, whether it's your business or even marketing strategies, because a lot of people don't have that aspect of it. And they're very scared of AI, and AI's been around since 1958. So it's just, Terminator was a thing, right? It just called it different. But we have that. And then we also have organizational consulting, right? Organizational consulting also comes in that aspect where if they need something like payroll and accounting and IT services and even real estate, we have interior designing. We have a little bit of everything in the company that is offered. Also have a great PR firm who actually put this together for me as well in that. So working hand in hand with a lot of people to try to make this happen and just continue to provide services offered and rendered. Yeah, absolutely.
So if I want you to finish this sentence, right? Leadership without purpose is, in your opinion,
dead man walking.
Say again?
Dead man walking.
Okay. Yeah. And
straight shot, like straight shot, no chaser, right? That means that if you
I love that.
If you have no purpose, you will live a purposeless life. You have to have something that has to tie you to be able to reset and rise with intention, pun intended, right? Yes. It wasn't a gimmick. The reason that the company name is Reset and Rise is because that's what you have to do. Not only, again, reinvent yourself every single time, but you also empower yourself to be able to continue to realign with intention, right? If you live a purposeless life, and again, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's ugly. There's a lot of ugly crying, and that's what it's for. And there's no judgment, but you have to try to find something that will be able to help you rise with that intention so that you can just get up. Again, so many veterans in transition, so many people in transition. The last year we've been thrivingly surviving. I've said that 100 times in all aspects, whether you're in public service or private sector, everybody's been thrivingly surviving this world, right? And then you throw in life. If you don't find a purpose in something, sometimes it's just a hobby that can turn into a full-time thing. Even it doesn't matter. You know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody else, and then we wind up on podcasts.
Yes, like this one, absolutely.
So but that's that. I really do believe that. I think that somebody that lives without intention that cannot. It's you might as well just be a living shell.
Right, and you also have an Instagram.
I do. I do have an Instagram.
What will they find there?
So they will find similar things. I'm working on trying to do a lot of short clips on day to day. I have a team that's working on that because unless I'm intentionally, hey, sit down somewhere and let's talk. I'm having a really challenging time to just, look at the camera and talk to myself. Right. But the team I have a content manager that's like, no, we need to do this. We need to put it out there. They want me to do TikTok dances and stuff. I'm like, that is not it. But you can tell what generation the content manager is. So they're a little bit of everything. So, but the consulting in Instagram is that you're going to find a lot of, positive mindsets, a lot of motivational speaking, a lot of the things that we do, a lot of veteran support services, and a lot of resources, right? I try to link even other people that are talking about this stuff that are very relevant in the community that they can, of the services that they can offer. Because again, I may not be the coach or, the organizational leader for you. However, there's a ton of people that are, right, that are on that page, even on the LinkedIn and everything like that. So I like to connect people, and I like to make sure that people have the access, because the equity is also about access. So you'll find a lot of those things in the Instagram as well.
Right. And I got to make sure, and people, if you have any more comments, please put them in. But, when we talk about what's your experience from what separates leaders from those that break under pressure and those that rise through it? What makes those what's the difference, or how do people get there? What advice, what separates those two kind of leaders?
I think sometimes people say leaders are not, they're born, they're not shaped. And I'm conflicted when it comes to that, because I do believe that at every point I'm allowed to evolve without apologizing. And someone that doesn't evolve without again, take up all the space. Take up all the space that you need. And I'd say, don't make waves, make tsunamis, just be.
I love that. That. Make tsunamis.
Be who you are. You know what? One thing, a hurricane, this snowstorm, let's take this snowstorm for example. Mother Nature is not apologizing at all about what she's about to do. Not one bit. Neither should we. Again, as creators and as leaders, we get an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. It's not just when something really bad happens. If you see, and this goes in relationships too, right? If things are not working, you have to really check yourself too, right? Because it does take two. Sometimes it's the other person, but sometimes when you point your finger at the mirror, you know what it's doing? It's pointing back.
That's right. That's right.
So
that's right.
Sometimes it's a quiet reset, and that's okay. Sometimes it's a quiet rise, and that's okay. But it looks like, you reestablishing and reinventing yourself at every single pivotal point in life, or, check-ins. I have check-ins with myself about every week or so. I journal. I try to say, okay, where are we now with things? And, sometimes life does throw things at you that literally take your breath away. And you have to be able to say, okay, what happened? And do what is it that we did in the military, the AAR, right? The after action review. The after action review is not just with your team, it's with yourself. So I do believe that you get an opportunity to reinvent yourself, to evolve, and don't apologize for doing so. Those that'll accept you will accept you without conditions, and will accept you evolving at every single point. And then even if sometimes I have a challenge, and my friends will tell me all the time, hey, don't, you can go quiet, just don't stay there long. And we do that with each other. Sometimes we do. Sometimes I'll go quiet at, zero contact, because I just need some time, and that's my quiet reset. But it's okay to go within yourself to find the answer. It's okay for you to come out and say, hey, I couldn't find it. I need help with that trusted, board that you have in your tribe. It's okay for you to seek help. It's okay for you. And you talk about this all the time, especially as veterans. We have the, resources out there. It's okay to have a conversation with someone that you don't even know and say, hey, I just need 5 minutes, like myself. Right. And that's one of the things, like, because I don't have at the time. People didn't know who I was. Oh, this coaching thing that you do, can we just talk about this? I just need to figure out this. It's a lot easier too to talk to somebody that you don't know. You establish that trust because you're like, the trust is based solely on your subject matter expertise, right?
Right.
I'm the subject matter expert on what I'm talking about. So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways, is that you get to reinvent yourself, but don't apologize for doing so. Absolutely.
You know, I always say you don't know whose roof is leaking unless you live there, unless you interact with people and find out what's going on, right?
All the time.
That's so important. As we get ready to come off, what would you like to leave? What message would you like to leave with the audience, and something maybe we didn't talk about, or just, you know, that you want to do in 2026?
2026 is the infinity year. The 6 + 2 is 8, and that's what I'm looking at it. It is not. The mission is to be able to not wait to ask permission. Don't wait. Right. We just talked about that. Take up the space. You're aligned, and you're allowed to have, you know, check-ins with yourself so that you can realign behaviors that are not serving you in positive ways, whether it's within yourself, colleagues, relationships, friends. It is okay for you to be yourself, you know, whether you're a veteran, a corporate executive, an entrepreneur. Just remember that you, right, matter, and that you find your purpose while you perform your purpose.
Wow. That's
not just by sitting.
That's deep. That's really good. No, I want to say thank you for, I mean, you dropped a lot of nuggets, and we had talked before about a lot of stuff. It's like, we can go on and on. It's just so
I know.
You know, but hey, okay, so what's do we have a book coming up? What's in the future?
Oh my goodness. You know, it's in the works. It's in the works. I am partnering with my amazing sister, friend, warrior, princess, queen of all. And she knows this, Migdalia. She was here not too long ago. She has this amazing book called Dancing into Opportunities. And we are trying to create dancing into opportunity through resilience and purpose, right? So it's similar to what I'm talking about now, that reinvention piece. And that's in the works. Okay. When? This year. Because I'm holding myself to it this year. When?
And you're coming back here. And you're coming back here, and we're going to talk about that.
I'm coming back here, and I'm going to talk about that book, because that's what, if I don't, then Migdalia, you, and everybody else in the tribe, including Yvette, are going to hold me to it. But again, if I don't hold myself accountable to be able to reset and rise with purpose, then I can't talk about it and be the subject matter expert to be intentionally, right? So I have to hold myself accountable for that too. But that is in the works. I'm really excited about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what may come for 2026. This is infinity, right? It's to infinity and beyond. For sure. This year is the best yet to come. We're going to continue to thrive and survive at the same time. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Michelle, I want to say thank you for being here and just, you know, just dropping those golden nuggets. Y gracias, dale pa'lante. Hey, it's all ahí vamos tal, you know. And I want to thank you and the audience for those questions. And right before I go off, if you like what you see and so on, hey, the way that we support each other is by supporting each other's, you know, website and pushing, because that's how we rise above things. You know, that's how we reset and rise. You like that, Michelle? Oh my God!
You did it!
Right? Yay! So hey, and the QR code support. So me and my tribe, you know, it can bring you great guests and keep this going, supporting each other, because that's what it's about, you know. So I just want to say gracias to the audience to support it. Michelle, gracias por todo lo que tú haces. It means the world to me. Because there's some young lady, some young man who's going to see this and say, I want to be like her. And that's what it's about.
That's all it is about. If I can just leave that and, you know, help somebody see themselves and they can do it, I've done my job in this world. So thank you so much.
So, hey, for those of us who are going to be affected by this snowmageddon, please be safe out there. You know, take care of each other, and just thank you for tuning in. And God gracias, Michelle, for everything.
Thank you so much to all the listeners, and thank you again so much, Jose, for having me on. I am extremely honored and blessed to be able to have partnered with you today. But thank you. Have a good one.
Alvides and choose goodbye.
Adios.
Adios.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.